purpose of this video is to introduce the Bluelock Portfolio. Portfolio is the first cloud-aware decision support tool. It enables businesses to be more agile. Today's information workers face an increasing pressure to deliver the most value for every dollar. With Portfolio's visibility and control, it becomes much easier to align your utilization and your spending and allow you to truly understand the cost of IT to make fast and effective decisions. The following is a demonstration of the visibility and control that Bluelock Portfolio delivers.
This is a feature that Bluelock provides that lays on top of the vCloud Director and VMware infrastructure that makes up Bluelock's cloud infrastructure. Portfolio product has several key features that make it different than most other things in the market. So logging in here from the main screen brings us to the dashboard. The dashboard is an overall high-level view of the Bluelock services that make up the cloud. And so you can see that the compute, networking, and management consoles are all online and operating normally for these zones. So looking at the Performance tab allows us to drill into how the virtual machines are actually functioning. Here you can see that we have a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly views to choose from to show us a performance history. On the left you'll see a tree that shows our organization here called Bluelock Production, and underneath that you can see your virtual data center. This is a Cluster 0 virtual data center. In that virtual data center I have a vApp named GroupWare, and if I open that up I can see my individual virtual machines shown below. The view on the right of the memory, CPU, disk, and network and internet is the view that shows for the level in the tree on the left that is highlighted. So all of this data regarding how network is being used, disk I/O, etc. is all rolled up from all of the systems below it. If I want to drill into a specific environment like the vApp or the VDC, it'll show me that performance rolled up. Also, it allows me to drill into a specific VM and see its performance. So I can see my memory, CPU, disk I/O, and network performance for this VM. In my cost summary view, I can see on the left the tree of my organization, virtual data center, and vApp. This particular view at the organization level, I can see my total costs for this month, my actual costs versus my planned costs this month. I can see that my actual costs are far below what my planned costs are. This is good news. Also allows me to decide if I want to reduce what my planned cost is going to be, so I'm only purchasing the resources I need. I can also take a look at the cost by resource. The view that I'm currently looking at shows me that this percentage is the vOrg cost, which would be internet and other managed services that apply at an organization level, and this amount of the cost is rolled up from the cluster and vApp. But if I want to see exactly what parts are making that up, I can switch to the cost by resource. And you'll see the resources that make up these costs are storage, memory, CPU, bandwidth, IP addresses, public, managed services. And I can see what percentage of the pie those are using. By highlighting them, I can see which specific piece shows up in the legend. I'm going to switch back to the cost by application view, and I'm going to drill into my GroupWare vApp so I can understand exactly which application is consuming the resources. So here I have a GroupWare environment that's made up of a development group set. I have a subversion repository, Confluence wiki, etc. And I can see that the majority of those costs are made up by my Jenkins server. I can also drill into my cost by resource view at this level and see that CPU and memory are my largest costs. Storage in this case is not a very large cost. Let's see what I can do about these. At this point I can drill into my performance graph and see how CPU and memory are being used by my vApps. My GroupWare vApp, for the daily view, I can see memory, CPU, disk I/O, and network. My disk I/O seems to be fairly sane, and disk was not a large cost. I have a large bunch of memory allocated, and a large number of CPU allocated. But if you look, I have only very little CPU consumed. I'm wondering if there's anything I can do about that. Well, that's one of the very important benefits of Portfolio, is the ability to take a shortcut and launch into vCloud Director exactly at the entity I'm managing. So now I can see the Confluence, directory server, etc. that I was just looking at in Portfolio here in Director. If I look at my virtual machine configurations, I can see how things are set up. I can find out if I really need to use all of that CPU. So I can drill into specific VMs inside the vApp and take a look at their performance. I can see the amount of memory that's allocated to the VMs and how much CPU they're using. Really, most of my VMs are not using that much CPU, so if I have any VMs that are dual CPU or quad CPU, I can really cut back on that. Looks like most of them are conservatively allocated in terms of gigahertz and in terms of memory. So the biggest thing I learned by going through my portfolio view is that my cost summary at the organizational level is predicting that I will spend far less this month than I had planned. That's always good news.